Good morning, afternoon, evening, gamers. I hope wherever you are in the world, you're safe and well. We're still in 2021 so far, not looking quite as good. But I think if we thought that the virus was going to go away, we were sadly wrong, I'm afraid. But it's not all bad news. Cyberpunk finally released. Um, so depending on your perspective. If we pop over to here, as you can see, I played about 71 hours of it. I haven't been to the Embers club yet with Hanoi. I think her name is. I may have got that wrong. So I just wanted to give my perspective and my thoughts on the game so far, putting to one side the all the controversies. Some of it, I believe, is knee-jerk reactions. Am I saying that the game doesn't have problems? No, I'm not saying that. It has its problems, depending on which platform you're on. Those problems can be worse. Um, I can only tell you from my point of view how the game ran for me. I'm running on older hardware. My CPU is getting a little bit long in the tooth now. Same with the graphics card. It's still got the horsepower, the 1080. It's not a Ti. It's just the normal variant. Still got the horsepower though. The computer can still run. But compared with some people I know on Discord who have newer processors, newer cards, they found that their game was running worse than mine was. Um, why that is, I'm guessing a lot has to do with optimization. So for me, the game ran fairly well. Yes, it had some problems, so that there were sort of bugs here and there. I did find that the longer I got into the game, the further along I went into it, the problems did seem to get worse. Um, Coming up towards the sort of end of it, going to the club um, with Hanoi, um, whether or not these problems are going to get bigger, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. We have had some patches. The last one, the 1.6 patches. But here's the thing. I'm not particularly worried as such about the bugs. The bugs can be fixed, and they are being actively fixed. You know, the problem I found more for the game, for me, was don't get me wrong. It's not a bad game. It's quite enjoyable. It's quite fun. If you manage to pick up one of the frankly ridiculously overpowered shotguns and you just get up close, it's a lot of fun. I haven't really messed around too much with swords or knives or anything. I think I unlocked the ability to be able to throw knives, so that's something I'd probably want to have a go at. Maybe in a future gameplay. I'm still sort of running around, just doing some side missions, doing the police, the Night City Police department jobs of just going and sorting out robberies and things like that. I found it's a pretty good way to make money. So I've been doing quite a lot of that. So it's quite enjoyable. The cars in the game look absolutely stunning and very unique. Driving them is another thing, but then I've never been that good at driving games, so that that could be on me. It took me a while also to work out that you could drive in third person. Once I found that out, that made driving a lot easier. I have found actually I've been riding the motorbikes a lot more. I find them a lot easier to use. The traffic AI it's a little bit clunky, so being able to use a bike and just zip in and out of traffic, I found for me a lot easier. Some of the cars as well, really, the handling of them is leaves a lot to be desired. Let's just say pedestrians were in a lot more danger when I was in the cars than on the motorbikes. So generally, what I'm saying, gameplay is pretty fun. Like I come across a few bugs. Sometimes you had to get quite close to NPCs in order to be able to trigger a conversation. Um, also as well, sometimes being able to pick things up. Sometimes that was quite irritating to me. Like there'd be some eddies or euro dollars that I could pick up, but I couldn't. And I tried swapping out guns. I know in some other games, if you swap out your weapons, that can fix it. No, no, not really. So yeah, there were a few things like that. Some little bit T-posing. I saw a little bit as I went along when I was doing the heist. I noticed a few bugs in that. I'm trying not to make sure that I don't, do any spoilers or anything. Um, so yeah, the game itself, more or less for me, ran pretty well, and I had a pretty good time. Now, here's the thing of it. Obviously, I like many of you. I followed the game for a few years. Got pretty hyped for it. It was supposed to have. I felt like it was supposed to have a lot more content in it than it did. Now, of course, we found out recently that a lot of content was cut. It seems that they rushed it out of the door, which is a bit of a shame. A lot of systems that they couldn't get running. The subway, which I think would have really been good in the game, that got cut because they couldn't get it to work. Wall running or sort of parkour elements, which I think some people would have liked. I probably wouldn't have. I probably wouldn't have used them. I've always sucked at things like that. Prince of Persia. I was always terrible at that game, with running across the walls and stuff. Just never really figured it out. But I think a lot of people would have liked that. But there's even rudimentary things that are in much older games that weren't in this game that I was surprised about. Barber shops, for instance. Places where you could, alter your look on the fly, as it were. There was none of that. The customization, which I expected to be a lot deeper from what I'd been led to believe by CD Red's marketing and trailers and demos. Yeah, that was a little bit disappointing. There was only so much of your body you could augment. There were no limbs or anything like that, which I think would have been interesting. So that, I felt that the customization at the start when I started my character was it just felt a little bit lacking, really. So that was a bit of a thing. Also, as well, the AI is very clunky. I mean, at times your enemies just really don't seem to have any sort of recognition whatsoever. The police chases are really not that great. You can just drive up the road and round the corner pretty much, and then they're like, ah, okay, we've lost him. It's yeah, that wasn't great. I was reading that apparently that got a little bit hashed and was actually running better, and then something happened as these things do, and the finished product meant that it's not so great. But having said that, I have been watching other YouTubers, open world games. If you want some, a lot more really good, interesting tidbits on cyberpunk, definitely check out open world gaming. I've been following him for a while now, to get information on cyberpunk. So I think the game has a lot more to give, and I think once they start adding in some of the content that they maybe didn't have time to put in, and maybe some of the DLC stuff starts coming into its own. The modders have began doing bits and pieces. I haven't actually tried any of them, so I don't know what these mods are like. Also, as well, I don't know if the devs have actually released the kits for making the mods, so I'm not entirely sure how they're making them. So I feel like the mods have yet to come into their own. But I think once you start putting all that together, so a lot of the content starts going back in, the DLC starts coming out, and the modders start getting their hands on it. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good. I think it's going to be a much better game. At the moment, it's fun, but it feels a little basic. There doesn't seem to be as much of the mechanics and RPG elements that I was hoping for this game. The main quest, without giving any spoilers, I was a little bit disappointed. The game seems to force you to get on and do the main quest parts, which also feel they feel very linear, and kind of forced. I really don't know how I felt about that. Obviously, that is the mechanics of the game. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. It's just that's going to be your particular perspective. For me, yeah, I was a little disappointed. True RPG games, and I go back to things like Skyrim, as you know, my all-time favourite game. You were never forced to do anything. You could always go anywhere, do anything, and you really had that freedom. And I felt that freedom was a little bit lacking in this game. But I'm not saying it's a bad game. I think it's going to hopefully. I mean, a lot of people are likening it to No Man's Sky, that it can bounce back, that it can have that second wind, almost. Maybe, maybe I would like to see it. I think it's, from what I've played, I think it's got potential. I just don't think it's quite. I don't think it's quite hitting the mark as yet. But yeah, 70 odd hours. I am having a lot of fun. There is plenty of things to do in Night City, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come. So, as for the controversies, I think no matter what CD Projekt Red did, it was never going to work out for them. If they had delayed the game, then there would have been people moaning about that. They released the game, and obviously people are not happy. On the consoles particularly, I know that it has been very rough for for console players, and I understand that that's not a good thing. You should be able to play a game without it crashing on you, without it bricking, without it not running as you would wish it to. But I do think those are things that can hopefully be fixed. Also, as well, they are giving the full refunds. Unfortunately, that upset Sony. Maybe they should have perhaps talked to Sony first, but maybe they did, maybe they didn't. No, none of us actually know. But I do feel they were always going to be they were always going to be at a loss. And the other thing I would say about that is that I have seen a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, and putting their 10 cents in. There were, even before Cyberpunk released, when there were just trailers of it, and demos, there were a lot of people that had political problems with this game. Some of the content in it upset them. You remember the all flavors ad that upset some people. So there were always people gunning for this game. They wanted to see it fail, and when it did, they pretty much came out full force. So I would say to you, if you're somebody who's looking at the game and thinking, that could be fun. In its current state, it's not bad. It's quite enjoyable. But I think if you wait, I think hopefully this game can really come into its own. But maybe put aside some of the controversy surrounding the game. Some of it is absolutely justified. If you buy a game, it should run on the hardware that it's intended for. I have no problem with that. But I think some of the negativity being thrown at the game and the developers, which usually the developers don't always have. They don't have as much power as you think they do in these companies. Often or not, the releasing of games and pacing usually comes from the top. And unfortunately, what tend to ruin a lot of these games is investors. Investors only care about money. That's all they care about. And as soon as they can get the game out there and start making money on it, then then they're satisfied. That's why, often or not, a lot of these games are pushed out before they're ready, because the investors, want to get their money. And unfortunately, it ends up ruining the games more times than it helps them. So kind of bear that in mind, that the developers often or not don't have a lot of say in these things. It's not often their fault. And they may have created an amazing bit of the game, and then for whatever reason the people at the top say no, it's not working, we don't like it, it doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, cut it. They have no say in that. If the upper echelons of the company say cut it, you have to cut it. So don't be too hard on the developers at CD Projekt Red, and definitely do not be throwing around death threats and all of this nonsense. Not acceptable ever to ever throw or send death threats to anybody, whether it be other gamers, whether it be game developers, even EA, who I'm not particularly a big fan of. Even them, I would say no. Nobody. So please, don't get into that behaviour. And also, before you make a decision on this game, don't do that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, it's terrible, and jump on the bandwagon, because too many people often do that. And it's not always, things aren't always as they seem. Like I said, I think this game had a lot of people going against it even before it was released. So I think they were always on a losing streak in some ways. So there's my 5 cents, if you like, on the game. I think it's good as it is. I've had a lot of fun playing it. I can only tell you from my perspective. Another person will tell you, they bought it on a console or they bought it on a PC, and it ran absolutely terribly. I've heard of the game crashing for people. Yeah, and yeah, that is going to colour your that's going to colour your perspective of the game, and that's fully understandable. But the weird thing is, it seems very inconsistent. Some people are having a great time with it, and it's working, more or less okay, and other people are having a terrible time of it, and it's crashing. Um, I haven't heard of it bricking anybody's system, but there may be small isolated cases. But usually crashing, it's not running well. FPS, which even on my game was difficult at times. If you went out into the Badlands, which was a more open sort of desert area, the FPS was a lot better. But in the city, particularly if you have your crowd control up, so if you are struggling, maybe turn the crowd sort of control down. That might help with your FPS. But yeah, so different people are having different experiences, but I think that will be fixed. So there you go. To try and give you a little bit more context, and maybe just look at the game on its merits, and maybe just put the controversy to one side, because while some of it is justified, I think some of it is just not so much. So we'll leave it at that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I've been away for a little bit. I've been very lazy. I've just not had the motivation to make videos. Unfortunately, like a lot of people in the world, in December I lost my job due to the virus and to Brexit. The company was just losing too much money, and they decided that they needed to let us go. So in some ways it's a sad thing. I was there for about I was there nearly sort of 14 years. But that's a long time to be in the one job. So hopefully, when the world stabilizes a bit, I can start looking for other ventures. When one door closes, I always feel like another door opens. There's always something new to do. I think you can either look at these things as a negative, and yes, I understand that it does create that sometimes that panic in you, and it's like, oh, what am I gonna do? But I also think that it also creates opportunity. You were doing that thing, and now you're free to do other things. So I think you have to try and sort of, for me anyway. I mean, yesterday, I woke up the first working day of the new year, and I realised, I've got nowhere to go, and yeah, I did feel a bit panicked, and I also had this kind of guilty feeling that I should be at work and I should be doing something and I should be contributing, and I had to remind myself that I've done nothing wrong. It was out of my control. That due to the virus and due to Brexit, the company could no longer function, and so unfortunately, you find yourself out of work. So yeah, you know, I think hopefully, you know, things will get better. So in the meantime, this does give me more time to make some more videos. Hope I'll be doing some streaming. Um, I still don't know about Twitch. I don't know whether um, to do some streaming on Twitch or whether to stick with YouTube's stream gaming service. On the one hand, for you watching me, I kind of want to do what's easier for you, and I suppose, and to a degree, easier for me, in that having everything all in one place, so you can go to that place and get everything that you want, rather than having to go here for videos, go there for streaming. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's more of a headache for you. And the other thing is, the thing I've always liked about making videos is that with the videos you can watch them anytime you feel like. So it works on your time frame. So if you're busy, you can watch it later. Whereas with streaming more, you kind of have to be there in the moment. Yes, you can watch it later, but Twitch only keeps videos for so long, and if you don't get around to them, then they're kind of gone. Whereas with YouTube, it tends to keep everything, which is kind of really nice. So you know, you guys let me know what it is that you want. If you want to see me stay on the YouTube streaming, we can do that. If you prefer Twitch, which is a little bit more complicated, I still need to work my way around it, we can do that. And obviously I'm going to still keep making videos. I like doing them. This was only ever supposed to be a social thing, just to see if I could do it. But I do enjoy doing it, so we're going to keep on doing it, and I have the time at the moment to do it. And well, none of us can go out. There's nowhere to go. There's not really a lot going on at the moment, so seems like a good time for it. So hope to see you again soon. Be well, stay safe. It is a strange time at the moment, so stay safe, be well, and I shall catch you soon. Bye for now.